case
That is
it's
so
working.
funny.
I love just the consistency with it all, honestly.
Yeah.
My go live button is not clickable yet.
Oh.
Is yours on Instagram?
Neither is mine. Neither is mine.
I see us there. Okay, hang on. We're there now. My sign, I think it's just delayed.
Oh, yeah. Got it.
All right. I just clicked it. It's going to take a second, I think, though. Okay, our beautiful sign is ready. Oh, you can't even see the sign. I'm trying to fix the headphones. Okay.
Hey. All right, sweet.
Hello.
Okay. Hey, everybody.
Hi.
Welcome. Chapter 4, Punished by Rewards by Alfie Kohn, The Trouble with Carrots.
We are back for episode 4 of the Ignited podcast. Hello, I'm Ashlyn.
I'm Brittany.
That's Brittany.
Hi.
And we are just getting everything situated. You know, we should really nail down on this intro, Britt.
Yeah.
How it sounds so natural for people. It's like, hi, I'm Ashlyn. And you're like, hi, I'm Brittany. And we're the Ignited podcast.
I like the way that we just did it, where you're like, I'm Ashlyn. And I'm like, I'm Brittany.
I like them a lot. I also feel like I'm Brittany. It's really much your persona coming through.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So you want to redo the intro?
Yes. I'm also just commenting for people to put their comments and everything in the chat, and that we will answer them all when we get to the end.
Yes.
My computer is okay. We're good. My computer is definitely having a moment there for a second because everything was frozen.
Yeah. Let me tell you what, Max. I feel like anything Apple is just like so drama queeny, you know, like. Like there's always got to be something.
Although I would never switch. I will never go back to Windows. It's not worth it.
Okay, I don't want that overlaid. All right, so you put that in the comments. Do my viewers, can they see that too?
They should be able to.
Okay.
I think it's just anybody who's watching it will get to see.
Right, dope. Okay, so remember that I think I'm going to do this overlay. No, I don't like that. For everybody that's watching, we record this with the intention to upload it as a podcast. So we are going to be answering all questions at the end, and we're going to redo the intro because we want a cool intro for our podcast episode.
We wanted to sound really good, guys. Yeah. We try. So much effort goes into this.
I know.
The amount of behind the scenes stuff. All right.
Okay.
You ready?
Wait. Well, what all are you going to say? Are you going to be like, I'm Ashlyn from A is for Ashlyn, something of the village?
I think I'll say, hey, this is Ashlyn from A is for I don't know. It sounds like this is Ashlyn and you're watching Disney Channel. It sounds like that.
Oh my gosh, I remember those.
You know?
Yeah.
Also, right now, my computer is actually frozen. Like, I can't see anything, and I am frozen on the screen. I feel like it might crash.
Uh-oh. Well.
If I hit the refresh button, is that going to make bad things happen, you think?
Refresh on what?
On Google?
I don't know. Maybe. I can see you, and I think I can see if your live is up still. Yeah, it still says that you're going.
All right. I just cannot see you, so it's going to be a bit sad not being able to interact with you visually over the course of this call, but that's okay.
Do you want to?
Okay, you're back.
Oh. Okay.
It told me it's.
Oh. Man. Someday, guys. Someday we'll get this down. I'm just going to wait until she pops back on, and maybe I'll just entertain you all with my charm and wit. So, Chapter 4, Alfie Cone, punished by rewards, trouble with carrots. The way we're going to do this, once she hops back on, is we are going to. Oh, she just text messaged me. My internet is crashing. Uh-oh. That's funny because I'm on like hotspot right now because my power actually went out. So it's just not our day, guys. It's just not our day. But hopefully she can get back on. If she can't, then we'll just reschedule this. However, I do want to talk a little bit about the chapter so you guys get some like something out of this, you know. So punished by rewards. Okay. Trouble with carrots. 4 reasons rewards fail. We are going to be talking after our little summary session. You know how we do the 2 minutes, or it's like a minute and a half where we summarize. We're going to go over the 4 reasons rewards don't work and review what we've previously learned on rewards. Which in chapter 3 we had all about, let me see here. Why rewards actually are counterproductive, how they the type of test, the type of reward, the timing of the reward. It went over all about the different types of rewards that can be offered, and regardless of whatever type the reward was, the research shows that it doesn't just it doesn't just stop productivity. It doesn't just I feel like I'm crashing. It doesn't just stop growth, but it actually will make whatever behavior you're trying to get the student to do, it will actually make it way less likely that that behavior changes. In chapter 3, he spoke about or wrote about the science behind how our mind processes rewards, specifically for people who were trying to quit smoking and people who were trying to lose weight. And the research found that when people were rewarded for either smoking cessation or weight loss, that um, they not only stopped using the program sooner than the other people who the other like their peer group, but they also ended up smoking more after the program ended. And they gained more weight. So there have been many studies, including seatbelt, um, a study done on motivating people to wear seatbelts, some studies that were done on what rewards do to productivity and quality of work. And all of this research is coming back and it's showing us that not only are rewards not effective in getting the behavior that we want to see, but it actually harms that behavior over the long haul. That was chapter 3. Chapter 2 was how ethical are rewards. Oh, I remember that. That was a good episode we did. Okay, so chapter 2, some believe it's inherently desirable to give rewards, that our culture's kind of rooted in the hey girl, hey,
Oh my
she's
god.
back. I've been just like reviewing.
Thank you for doing that. Am I on
Yeah,
Instagram now too? Like people
I
can
think
see me there as well?
I don't know how many people stayed with me. Oh, no. Yeah, you are. We
I'm
are.
still
So
there.
we're
I'm
back.
still live personally. All
Yeah.
right.
Can you throw on your live?
It looks like okay, I see myself there too. All right, that was so strange. Everything on my screen froze. It all went to black and I couldn't click anything. And I tried like just forcing to shut down. It was like the computer cannot shut down because Chrome will not quit. And so I had to force quit Google Chrome, restart everything. But we're back.
Yeah.
All
I
right.
mean, God love technology, but man,
We're having
sometimes
an
it's a
issue
real
today.
pain. I know.
And I was trying to comment too because I was trying to watch the live and be like, I'm coming back, Brittany. But it wasn't even letting
Never
me
let
do
me
that.
go. What?
Don't let go.
Don't let me go.
Um,
That's how I felt like trying to carry. So I'm like, okay, guys, we're gonna review.
just
Like,
rolling with it
what
all.
was chapter 2 and 3 about? Like,
Oh my gosh.
no, I think I did all right. I did all right. If you think
Oh,
I
I'm
did
sure you
okay,
did.
comment. If you think I did okay, comment.
I'm sure you did
But if
just
you don't
fine.
think I did okay, if you
Don't
don't think
say
I did okay,
anything.
do not comment.
You could just leave the live then.
Right. You're
Brittany
not a true fan.
crying there. Exactly. What else was I going to tell you? Oh yeah, when I was trying to comment, it said that I couldn't comment because of like an Instagram error. So I think
Oh.
that we got an alert when Brittany and I first joined Restream tonight saying that Instagram Live was not working for all users today
Mhm.
for some unknown reason. And so I think I might be one of those users.
Man,
But that's okay.
had to be one of us.
It had to be. You know, there was a 50% chance.
Right.
All right. So are you ready to do the actual intro and dive into things now?
Yeah.
All
I
right.
think I'm warmed up.
Yeah, right? You
Now
just
I'm warmed
talked
up.
about everything.
Right.
All right. So let's do our welcome sequence. Lights, camera, action.
Boom, boom,
Hello.
boom. I wanted to be
Okay,
a part of it.
I love the music. Hello, everybody. I am Ashlyn with A is for Ashlyn.
And I'm Brittany.
And we are the Ignited Podcast. And today we are going to be talking about chapter 4 of Punished by Rewards, The Trouble with Carrots. So, the first part of every single episode that we do involves us doing a timed summary of the chapter. And last time, I think you went first, Brittany, right?
I think so. Yeah.
I think
I
so.
did.
So
I
think
did.
it's my turn now. You
All
got
right.
our timer ready?
I do.
All right.
Oh, wait. I started it too early. 3, 2, 1, go.
All right. So in this week's chapter of Punished by Rewards, Alfie was talking about how rewards can negatively impact people. And in particular, he zoomed in on 4 different things. So, first of all, he was talking about how rewards can just ultimately punish people. Like they are very similar to consequences. Then he talked about how rewards can destroy relationships, how they can ignore the underlying reasons for why behavior is happening in the first place, and how they can discourage risk taking, which is one of the primary elements why we are in schools in the first place. So he examines all 4 of these topics throughout the course of the chapter, giving reasons, citing examples, and talking about why we should stop using rewards and just continually to hit us with the evidence. So I think we can stop there, Brittany. I think I got it in 1 minute. I think that was short and sweet. I can't hear you.
Dang it. I hit the mute button so I wouldn't.
Oh.
Dang. Did you write that down?
I did not write that down.
That was so good. Dang.
You know, I try. I'm out here showing up, or I'm not for 10 minutes on the live, but that's okay. We won't talk about that. Before this, Brittany and we were trying to go live, and my live just crapped out, and it was Brittany flying solo for 10 minutes reviewing the chapters. But anyways, you did a great job, and now you're also going to do a great job with your summary. Are you ready for this?
Ugh. Yeah. Okay.
All right. On your mark, get set, summarize.
Okay, so in chapter 4, Alfie talked about that rewards can harm relationships by highlighting the power difference and stressing the relationship, because if you are reliant on someone for a reward, then you're probably going to um, resort to flattery. Or if you're relying somebody to avoid punishment, or or you're trying to avoid punishment in the relationship, then you're just going to be avoidant of them altogether. And he wrote about how it how rewards impact creativity and risk taking, and that um, when people are trying to just focus on, or when people are rewarded, they tend to focus on the reward more than the actual like task itself. And that leads to just repetitive behavior, repeating whatever they did before to get the reward. So they're focusing on the what they're going to get more than the process of what they're supposed to be doing or what they're supposed to be learning. It ignores reason. So rewarding does not address the underlying cause of, let's say, the behavior. And it doesn't solve any problems. It's just a band-aid or a gimmick um, to get, and like for the person in control to have like an easy way to feel in
Uh,
control.
that's time.
All right. All right.
Brava! I feel like you go into nice detail with your summaries, and I kind of just like bang, 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 hit
Yeah.
everything. So
Well,
together,
which is, yeah,
the perfect combination, you
it's
know?
balance.
Exactly. All right. So
Woo.
today we are actually going to dive into all four of those topics we both just mentioned. And we're going to start off by unpacking what rewards and punishing actually looks like and how we've seen this happen. So I want to ask you, Brittany,
Yes.
how have you seen rewards punish students?
Oh my gosh. Okay. So we have PBIS, and I've got two actually. Every month we take a trip, and our kids try so hard to earn this trip, right? And we have had some students who've never earned, the field trip
Hmm.
get to go. We have had that. But for the most part, the same kids are going on every trip, right?
Yeah.
Like, and the aftermath, when a kid learns that they're no longer a contender for the trip is terrible. Like, it's a complete temper tantrum. They
Hmm.
they stop trying. There's nothing for them to try for anymore. It's already taken away.
Hmm.
Um, and I think that's one of the biggest ways that PBIS can just uh, I don't know, makes things worse.
Hmm.
Um, or rewarding makes things worse.
Yeah.
The second example I want to talk about is the points that we give. Like every half hour, the kids get points for being safe, responsible, respectful. And if they're just obsessed with their points, like they don't care about the behavior. And most of them can't even tell you like what they did, why it was taken away, or why it
Hmm.
was disrespectful.
Yeah.
They just know that you took their points and they're going to get a 0, and then they're going to get their butt whooped at home, or they're going to get in trouble at home. And so they are just obsessed with the fact that points are taken away
Hmm.
and not obsessed with learning how to be safe, responsible, and respectful.
Yeah, and then they view you as like this evil figure who took their points away because
Mhm.
they did X,
Yes.
and the act of reflection is missing entirely.
Mhm. Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm the focus.
yeah,
Yes.
I see this happening too. Like even the on Friday. So I've talked about this before on here. How my school has like a makeshift version of this. It's like they get points for bad in quotes, bad things. And at the end of the week, if they have 7 bad things or 7 points, then they can't go to Fun Friday. And I don't
Mm.
really do this at all. I just use the app to log missing work, or if I don't even know. Like that's basically it.
Mhm.
Um, but like my behavior management system does not rely on it, but a lot of teachers have that as like their sole behavior management system. And so at the end of the week, I was talking to a teacher trying to figure out who the speakers are going to be at our conference. And I have the kids leading the class for me on Friday afternoons. And they're like reflecting on their week. And then someone said something like, "Oh, yeah, we're really upset because they blocked the app is called Kickboard on our school computers. So now we can't view how we did during the week and we just have to figure out the end of the week." And I was like, "Guys, stop it, stop it. You should know how you're doing during the week."
Yeah.
Right? Like be mindful of your actions. Now you're affecting people and like check in with yourself. And
Right.
also, this is a piece of paper. Like this, like there's not going to be an app following you around in life telling you what you're doing right or wrong. You just got to own yourself and think about your own decisions. Um, but that's not even the example I was thinking of rewards punishing. I have one example that comes so strongly to mind whenever I think about like tickets or PBIS and all these tokens and things. And it was my first year teaching. I had fourth graders, and at the end of the week on Fridays, they had what we called stars, and they had to count up their stars and see if they had enough to like go to different activity rooms. Each activity room was worth so many stars. And so this one kid lost their wallet, and I was like, "Well, you have no wallet, you have no stars. There's nothing I can do about that." I was very much like,
Mhm.
the kid starts wailing, and I was like, "I don't know what to do with this now." And we ended up finding the wallet eventually, but there's like a whole production. Like the administrative team came down, and they were like, "Where is their wallet?" And I'm like, "Why is this even a thing in the first place?" But like
Yeah.
this kid was beside themselves wailing about not knowing where their star wallet was.
Mhm.
And all for what? And like this kid, I don't know. It was just such a headache. And I saw a lot of that happening over the course of time too. And
Mhm.
like kids shutting down too if they realized that they were not eligible for something. They would just
Yeah.
shut down, be like, "Ah, it's not worth it then."
Well, I would have been one of the kids that was wailing because
Mm-hmm.
one, I would get hyper fixated on something
Mm-hmm.
and I had low emotional regulation. So that would
Mm-hmm.
have like thrown me into I would have freaked out.
Probably every week then, like right before the events happen.
Oh, and I'm like
You know?
ADHD. I would have lost my wallet every week.
Mm-hmm.
And then I would have been like, "You know what? Never mind. I'm gonna piss everybody off." Like I'm gonna get mine. Like
Man, no, I feel so bad about that now. Like I still picture this whole moment and I'm like, "Oh, what were you doing, Ashlyn?" But you
learning.
live and you learn.
Mhm.
Exactly.
Yep.
Um and oh man, I was going to
Preparing
just
for
say,
this podcast.
yeah, right,
That's what
getting
you were doing.
all the material for the before and then the after transition, right?
Right.
Or the before and after transformation. But yeah, rewards can definitely take their toll. And like Alfie was mentioning in the chapter too, they're not very different from punitive consequences.
No.
It's still the act of the controller administering something
Mhm.
and saying, if you do this, then you'll get that.
Yep.
It's not like if you do this, then you'll get an after school detention, but it's
Mhm.
still someone manipulating another human with
Mhm.
control.
Well, that's like the line was rewards are if you do this, you get that.
Mm-hmm.
And then punishment was you do this or you'll get that.
Yeah,
And they're just it's he said they're two sides of the same coin.
exactly.
And
And
it's super true.
I don't think we recognize that. I don't think
Mhm.
people notice that. And I think it's hard, like, even for myself reading through this chapter, especially there was one point when it was talking about like schoolwork, which we'll get to down the line. And I feel like it's so ingrained in our society and our culture to do these things. And so it
Mhm.
feels almost counterintuitive sometimes to go against the grain.
Yeah.
Which kind of leads us to the next thing I wanted to talk about, which is this false dichotomy of rewarding and punishing. And I want to go look for some of the text about this.
Oh yeah. Well, so the false dichotomy, page
Mm-hmm.
51.
Yeah.
Page 51 and 52. So he said punishment and reward proceed from basically the same psychological model, one that conceives of motivation as nothing more than the manipulation of behavior, which is
Can,
strong.
yeah. Can you say that one more time? I feel like that people might need a second to dissect that.
Yeah. Punishment and reward proceed from basically the same psychological model, one that conceives of motivation as nothing more than the manipulation of behavior. So, like, humans aren't motivated to do
Mm-hmm.
anything unless an outside force is manipulating them to
Mm-hmm.
feel motivation, which isn't true. And we know that.
Yeah. And then they made another like really interesting visual where it says one education writer, this is page 51 too. One
Mhm.
education writer compares the tendency of teachers to blithely administer knee-jerk jolts of positive reinforcement to the use of electric cattle prods. A comparison that may seem far-fetched until we pause to consider the ultimate purpose of rewards and how the manipulation is experienced by those on the receiving end. And I think that's why it's such a false dichotomy, because like they're two sides of the same coin, right?
Mhm.
But we forget we have more than one coin.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Like,
You're
have we? Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, like, the I've never felt more affirmed in choosing to create the
Mm,
toolkit
yeah,
than until after I read this chapter and I'm like, "Dope." Like, I did that was a good thing to do, like
exactly. No, and I think that you see this false dichotomy happening everywhere in education. Like even
Mhm,
on like the posts that we've put out there, people are like, "Oh, well, if you don't punish a kid, let them get away with anything," and that's not like what they need in the real world.
oh
And
my gosh.
people forget there's so much more that you can do,
Mhm,
besides giving a token or giving a suspension.
right, right,
There's
and neither of those are solving the problem.
exactly.
They're not even asking about the problem. Like,
And
I don't know, it's a Band-Aid.
it is. And we're going to dive more into the relationship, like ignoring the reasons.
Mhm.
But I want to talk a bit about the relationships that you've seen hurt through this. Like, have you seen these rewards help relationships at all?
Yeah, with the kids that are always earning them,
Yeah.
which are the kids that don't need them.
Mm-hmm.
So it's, like, oh, we love so and so because, or I love so and so because they're constantly showering me with gifts and praise. And I mean, I guess, who wouldn't like that, that constant positive attention.
Yeah.
Um, I think it's interesting that he he spoke about or wrote about the fact that if you see a teacher who uses positive reinforcement a lot,
Mm-hmm.
it's very likely that they're also going to be using punishment too.
Yep.
And now thinking back on that specifically of the teacher and student relationship I was thinking of answering your question, that teacher was one of the most punitive teachers in the building. And the
Mm.
kids that didn't get the rewards all the time did not like her. And it that ruined a lot of relationships because she felt that she needed to reward. At the same time, like, psychologically, you feel like you need to punish, which we're gonna get into that too, right? Rewards as
Yeah.
punishments. Yeah.
Man. No, I
Yeah.
keep coming back to the fact of like when I have my own students see these reports every week, or if they know they got it's called a stare, though that negative point to get it, it's called a stare. when they know they got to stare, like they're so pissed off at the teacher and they feel like they just go on this power trip. And they're not wrong. The act of what we're doing, it's not doing anything.
Right. Well, did you mean like the teacher's going on, the student feels like the teacher's going on a power trip, or the kids are
Yeah.
going on a power trip?
No,
Oh yeah,
yeah.
because that's another thing that Alfie says in this chapter, is that it pretty much creates learned helplessness, and that like the kids have no control over their choices or the outcome of their choices. Like,
yeah, they're just going through the motions. And then we wonder why kids get so apathetic in school.
yeah. It's really sad, actually. It's pretty depressing. Like, when we sit down and think about it.
And there's our next t-shirt design. It's pretty depressing.
When you sit down and think about it.
Yeah. So let's talk about artificial scarcity next, because this actually, hang on, I want to put a pin in that, because before we do that, I want to talk about being caught. So being caught for either being good or bad. And so Alfie talks about how when you're giving rewards or you're giving punishments, like you're doing the same thing. Like you are catching the children doing one thing or the other. Ideally, the good thing, right, for the rewards, but still catching someone in the act. And thinking about what that does to integrity, I think is interesting to explore.
Yeah. Can you elaborate on that?
So if you're doing something with the purpose of being caught, so let's say you want to be caught for a reward. So you see that pencils are on the ground. Then are you going to pick up that pencil and the teacher is like talking to a kid? Or are you going to wait till the teacher looks at you and then go, I'm going to pick up this poster right now, or pick up this pencil right now? So I feel like it warps your sense of integrity, of just like doing the thing because it needs to be done, or doing the right things. It's the right thing to do.
That's funny, because when I read it as you're being caught. Like, caught is a heavy word, and it carries psychological influence. Like it's gonna influence your stress response. So I thought about like how the act of being caught, whether it's good or bad, is going to increase your stress response, whether it's for a goodie or whether it's to avoid punishment, or
you are so right.
Like there's going to be extra cortisol because this situation is kind of anxiety inducing. But yeah, see, that's why we balance each other.
And
two different perspectives. I love it.
Yeah, me too. And that also goes back to the example that Alfie mentioned of those girls who were teaching, like tutoring the younger kids. Do you remember that one?
Yeah.
So
I think I wrote that, or I have that in our notes.
I got it right here too. It's 56 through 57. But several studies have examined the way we come to regard others when their actions determine whether we get a reward. When older girls were promised a reward for tutoring younger girls, they not only became less effective teachers, but also valued the younger child as a function of her utility in obtaining the desired goal. Even if she wasn't learning fast enough, she came to be viewed negatively. In a very different kind of experiment. That's a different experiment then. But like you're viewing the people you're helping as like an obstacle to overcome.
To get to the reward.
Yeah, and the full studies explain more on page 44. But they talked about on page 44 how like the other group didn't have that reward, how they were more patient, more kind.
Yeah, and the people that they were training learned more.
Yeah, exactly. So how do you sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, how do you see the being caught mindset changing for you now? Because you are getting out of that with one of your classes. Like you stopped giving the points to one of your classes. You're still doing it for the other ones?
Yeah.
So how?
I'm still within a PBIS structure,
Yeah, you're still in your school. You're bound by the constraints there, right?
Mhm.
But how do you see that adjustment working not only for your students but also for you?
Um, well, so this week we had a rowdy class. I had a I no, I'm gonna say we because I do feel like getting rid of PBIS makes the whole experience more communal
Mhm.
because it's not just me controlling. It's like
Yep.
everybody has a hand in how this whole thing works. Like everybody has a hand in the outcome of our class, right? Um, and let's see, it was Friday Friday we had a celebration.
Mhm.
So that was their first celebration where usually before I they had to earn it.
Yeah.
They had to earn the I call them class dojo parties. They have nothing to do with class dojo, but they had to earn the party. And Friday they got, as long as they didn't owe work, they got to participate in the party. So Monday and Wednesday, Monday was really rough. Wednesday was better. I had them Monday, Wednesday, or I'm sorry, Tuesday and Thursday. Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. Tuesday was really rough. Thursday was better. I think because Tuesday was so rough. Tuesday, everybody was talking over each other. And I prompted a couple times and then I just let it go. I focused on the kids that were like focused on me and I ran the lesson. And I just let the 3 kids that were off task and like causing a ruckus,
Mhm.
they were off task and causing a ruckus. So when the 3 kid or no, I'm sorry, when the kids that I was working with, they got to go to studio time because they got all of their work done. There was, nothing else they needed to do. The other kids were way behind. And then they're like, "Oh, what are we supposed to be doing?" Like
Mhm.
they saw the kids that were doing what they were supposed to do, in studio time, and they wanted to go to studio time.
Yeah.
So it's no longer about giving a punishment or giving a reward. It's literally about natural consequences. And it's crazy to me that they really disconnect like consequences from being naturally given because I feel like so many people in power are controlling so much
That's
that
interesting.
they forget like, oh, if I don't do my work, then I'm not going to be able to get, free time. And they took responsibility so well because I was like,
Ah!
you guys came in here, hooting and hollering, and then you talked literally the entire time I was teaching. And now I can't give you this ink and a brayer and you don't know what to do.
I don't
So
even know what a
how
brayer is.
Oh, it's a brayer is a roller. Like, I
Gotcha.
mean, this is super messy stuff. I can't just give that to you. So you have to hear my spiel. And they're like, "Oh man, okay." Like they were bummed, but it went over way better than if I would have been like, "Okay, all of you got zeros. You didn't get a class
Mhm.
dojo point, and I'm going to take your recess because you got to come in and review stuff for me." Like, it
And
would have been yeah.
I feel like it gives you the false idea of like you did something
Mm.
to help the problem not repeat. I
Oh,
feel like if you were just like, "Well, you got zeros today and you have to do this,"
mhm.
makes you feel like you did something so that, "Oh,
Yep.
they won't do that again because they got zeros this time," but you're never actually breaking down what happened.
Right, right.
Um, my question for you is, do you feel like, studio time would be considered a reward?
Mm. Yep, probably because that's how everything's framed in their mind.
Yeah.
Like, so, um, studio time is something that I don't want to say that is reliant on me getting through my stuff because I it's so important for them because it's so important for one their motivation to be able to work on whatever they want. They explore way more tools
Yeah.
than when I'm teaching them. Like, I have some kids that are on pottery wheels and I have some kids that are on sewing machines. Um, mm, but they do view it as a reward.
And that's where I feel like the lines get very blurry between
Mhm.
what we're doing versus PBIS. And I think this is where it comes down to the intention you have with the thing. Because remember earlier on, Alfie was talking about how if you're putting a reward in place to control somebody,
Mhm.
then you shouldn't be doing that. But
Mm.
if just like the nature of something might be more desirable, and maybe this is like misquoting, I feel like that might be a bit more acceptable, like your motivation going into it. Like your motivation is not to hold studio time over the kids' heads
No.
and be like, I'm going to take away your studio time if you do this or that.
Right.
It's
No,
more like,
I don't take
yeah,
it
if
away.
when we finish our work, then we get to have like your own free projects because there's nothing else that I need you to do. So you can just
Mhm.
explore whatever you would like. But I
Yep.
need you to do your project first.
Yeah. Yeah.
I feel like they sound very similar, but they're very different ways of going about something. And I feel like they feel different for the receiver.
Mhm. Well, yeah, I think it's the intention.
Mm-hmm.
So the intention of studio time isn't to control behavior. The intention is to give students the self-directed time and some
Yeah.
autonomy control, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Um and the only time that they don't get it is if they like if they have to, work longer on their project that they're doing for me, which I don't know. Now I feel like, oh my gosh, is that a reward? Like, what am I doing? Oh, I don't know. This is why we're reading this book and talking about it.
Yeah,
You
that's why.
know?
And I feel like it's so embedded too. Like it's so hard to break away from these things.
Hmm.
But I think that the way you're going into it plays a big role
Hmm.
because it's not you telling the kids like you're going to miss out on your studio time if you do this or that. It's
Yeah.
I don't know. It seemed very clear in my head, like the distinction between the two.
Right.
I might not be articulating that so well right now.
Well,
Um,
I think like there are natural consequences,
yeah, that's true.
right? Like you know, if you're running and you fall and you hurt yourself, right?
Hmm.
And well, that's like self-directed though. So there's a power hierarchy because I'm
Yeah,
still giving, but mm, I don't know. It's a learning process.
yeah.
I'm gonna have to think about it, and maybe we'll talk about it next
No, go
episode.
definitely.
Yeah.
So then maybe we can move on a little bit more about how we see artificial scarcity coming into play with rewards.
Mm.
So just kind of give us the recap on artificial scarcity.
Uh,
It's like creating that you only have so many of something, so people have to compete to get it. And this area of the chapter felt very not conflicting. What's the word for it? When like it gets you.
oh, like
What's that word?
it was coming for you, or it's like
Yeah, there's a word
yeah.
for it. It's on the tip of my tongue right now. But this one I was like, oh, I kind of feel like I'm doing this one right now. Because I did this and I've been thinking about it because I've been doing my research conference for a few years now. And this is a I feel like it might be okay because of the mindset I'm going into it with. Because my mindset is not to control. But my husband owns a business. And so his business donates some scholarships to some of the students at our conference. We
Mhm.
cannot have, like, they cannot donate scholarships to every single kid. That's too many. So we have 4 different scholarships that are available. And at the conference, we have 4 different speaking roles. So all of the kids present. They either present, give me 1 second. Sorry. I'm battling a cold right now. So I gotta wet my nose for a second. Sorry. Um, Anyways, so there are 4 speaking roles, and then everybody presents their poster presentation. So that's like a college research conference. And then there are 4 people who present to the entire cafeteria and auditorium. And those are the recipients who receive the scholarships. But I don't pick who gets them per se. Every kid gets to try out for it. And then I just use the rubric and we pick the top scores. But I'm like, I feel like I'm creating artificial scarcity by doing that. But I'm doing that with the intention because I want kids to see that their academic work can produce financial outcomes. Like I talk about how when you're in high school, you can apply for scholarships and they can help you pay for college, whatever you want to do.
Mhm.
And I was a recipient of a scholarship where I had free tuition. And it can make a huge difference in your life. And the reason why I'm doing that is not to like control. It's more to like my goal is to empower and be like, look at what you can create. Um, but I don't know if that's always being received like that because I know it's hard for kids who try out and they don't get it. But
Mhm.
I also feel like it'll be hard for kids to try out and they don't get it just because I can't have 20 kids speaking publicly to the cafeteria. It's going to take way too long.
Right. So you're not creating false scarcity. That's what it was, right? False scarcity?
Artificial scarcity, they called it.
Artificial. Artificial scarcity. You're not creating that. There's actual scarcity.
They're scarce. Yeah, I guess so. With the amount of scholarships that we're able to give and then the time constraints.
Right. So that's out
So,
of your hands.
okay.
Like there's no power, like what an imbalance of power,
Yeah.
like an over emphasis of power on your part.
Mhm.
Like and you're not trying to teach kids a lesson with it. Like when you communicate the situation, you're being honest and genuine, and there's 4 scholarships, and we're not just going to cancel the program because you all can't get a scholarship. Like,
Yeah.
and not only that, like, that is reality. Not everybody's going to get a scholarship. Like,
That's true, and it's led to some really great conversations that we've had. I wanted to post about this at some point, but like even on Friday, I was sitting down with one of the classes who's involved in it because I have a few classes doing it, and I was like, I want you guys to show up for yourself and get in the habit of putting the work in and stopping when you're proud. And then looking back at what you've created and being like, man, I made that. I am so proud of that. And just feeling that pride in your work. And I said, I want you to be ready for opportunity because with our school, we're actually going to be having a lot of guests come to visit the conference tomorrow. Like people from the state are coming down to watch it. It's going to be a big thing. And I was like, I want you to position yourself so when opportunity comes, you're ready for it because you never know what it's going to be.
mhm,
And as you go into your life, be thinking about that every single day. You're building the life you want and you're setting yourself up to receive opportunities when they come. So just think about that. Like, think about what you're going to do
mhm.
and how you're going to be ready for it.
I love
And
that. That's so inspirational.
thank you. You know, I honestly feel like I'm an inspirational speaker 5 days a week. Like, maybe I could go into life coaching. It's like another
Yeah,
career.
right.
Career
Just add it
switch.
on.
Exactly. You know, A is for Ashlyn, who coaches people in life. Still workshopping the username. Um, but no, I feel like it was very impactful for them. And I don't think they're leaving feeling controlled,
Yeah.
you know?
I also think that when you use a rubric, you take the subjectivity out.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, of course, there's always some level of subjectivity when it comes to like grading something, right? Like,
Yeah.
but the more objective you can be about it, the more and the more that you can let students know what the rubric is and what the parameters are and what they need to do, then they're less likely to blame you for failure,
Mm-hmm.
as they're going to like not blame, but actually blame
Yeah.
what caused the failure. Was it, not putting enough effort or time into it? Was it just my lack of skill in this specific
And they
area?
take it well too. And like even when I was telling the kids, like they kind of knew who was going to be the recipient before I even said anything. Like they kind of knew just like watching how the presentations went and seeing what they created.
Yeah. Did they
You
have
know?
like the rubrics in
Oh
front of
yeah.
them, or did they know?
They've
Okay.
they've had this rubric for a while.
Yeah.
I try to be very upfront about all of those things.
Hmm.
So yeah, I've actually seen a lot of that. Like I'm sure kids will like trash talk and complain, but I honestly don't think I see too much of it happening like toward me. And I can't always say that.
Hmm.
Like I know for years people would come at me. The kids would. Um the story I recount sometimes is one time a child told me that they hoped I would die in hell. And I was like, I think the word you're looking for is rot. But
No. Did you say that? Oh my God, I'm so proud of you.
oh man,
I don't think I've ever been more proud of you. Like, that's hilarious. Oh my God. Listen to me. This is gonna be live, Brittany. Like, what the hell? Like, I'm so proud of you.
Oh my
No,
gosh.
that's hilarious. Like,
See,
because you know what?
Sometimes like being able to think quickly does me good. Sometimes it does not do me so well. Depends on the situation.
I am all here for the kids. I love my
Yeah.
job and I love my students, but sometimes they need to be clapped back at. Like,
Oh no, and I love like working with middle school kids for that reason because
Yeah.
oftentimes like a lot of them are fine with that too and they appreciate it and the humor
Mhm.
works really well. What was I saying to one of them? I don't even know. I can't remember the joke right now. But no, it's a really great way to connect with them having that humor.
And
But
being able to, I honestly think like being able to clap back out of love. Like, it's not like
yes.
we, like if you have animosity, I do not suggest you use that
Mm-mm.
method. Like, if there's
No.
any doubt in that kid's mind that you don't love them, like, I wouldn't use the method until the relationship's strong. But when you can clap back, they respect you so much more. It's like mental agility. And they
Yeah.
respect that. Like,
I forget if we've talked about that on here, if that was just a conversation you and I had about mental agility and how important that is for kids.
I think that was a conversation we had because we were talking about culturally responsive teaching in the brain.
We should talk about that sometime on
That
here.
should be our next book.
Right? Let's do it.
Yeah.
Or self-determination theory. I was thinking about that too. That would be fun.
Yeah.
So now I think we should move on. And I scheduled it, like I make an outline for our podcast, right? And so item 8 says, rant about how rewards don't solve anything for a minute. Scheduled and outlined in a rant for us. Because now we're moving on to the part about how rewards ignore reasons. So give us your best rant, Brittany. Here's your soapbox. Take it.
Okay, well, first off, when I was reading this morning and I read the word minute, like knowing Ashlyn and I and how like we can get off topic and we can rant, I'm like, I laughed at it. I was like, oh, a minute. That's cute.
How adorable.
Okay, so yeah, I'm on my soapbox. Rant about how rewards don't solve anything. Well, first of all, when we're rewarding, the same as punishing, we are doing nothing to cause the underlying need. So a behavior takes place because a need is not being met. And it could be safety, comfort, autonomy, belonging, or competency. Those are the 5 needs that I focus on. If I reward a behavior, I'm not like figuring out what was causing the inappropriate behavior. I'm not figuring out that need so I can meet it. And if I'm punishing, I'm not figuring out what the behavior or what the need is. So I got caught up on like I'm not I'm not rewarding, I'm not punishing. I'm like going into a mental spiral now.
You're not meeting
Needs. I'm not meeting needs. Like, this is okay. So and if you're not meeting needs, then you're not actually solving the cause. But I feel like there's something I want to say and I can't articulate it now because I call them ADHD spirals. So can you take?
No, it's all good. Let me see what I can do. So my like little note is that you don't solve anything unless you solve something.
Ooh.
Like you're not going to solve a kid being disruptive if you give a point or if you punish after school. You're not going to solve anything unless you solve something. And the first thing you have to do and solve is understand what you're working with. Like, I'm no mathematician, but like you have to understand like how the functions work and how the numbers work and like what the operation is, what you're trying to achieve before you can solve the problem.
Right.
But why do we not to do that with children and their behaviors? Because we take it so personally, because we get so triggered probably. because it's the way our
Yeah.
parents did it. It's the way our schools did it.
Yeah. Well, I also like the fact that they mentioned that we view behavior in
Hmm.
a very superficial way.
Yeah.
Like, we don't know a lot about the brain. We don't know a lot about motivational theory. We view behavior as it's just something, or behavior and motivation, they're just two things that can be controlled.
Hmm.
And we give the person a star and they're going to do what we want. Um and I think for a lot of kids that does work. But
But
what we're
does it?
seeing,
Does
I
it long
mean,
term?
no, no,
That's the thing. It
right?
masks. It
Yes,
masks very efficiently for some kids.
right. I feel like though what we're seeing is that we the rewarding, maybe, like, I don't think it ever worked, but I think that kids were very excluded from the class, like the general ed setting. And now that we're including a lot of students, and we have students that came out of a pandemic, which means that their trauma response, we're
Hmm.
seeing like a lot of behaviors that are coming out of psychological needs not being met.
Hmm.
And that's why people's reward systems are no longer working as much like as they thought they were, back 10 years ago.
Yeah,
Do you
that's
agree,
true.
or?
Yeah, I agree. And I was also thinking of the example from the chapter. I can't remember which page it came from when they were talking about like the little girl who would wake up in the middle of the night.
The 3-year-old.
And yeah, the 3-year old, and how the parents could be like, oh, well, if you don't go back to bed, then I'm going to not take you to the park this weekend. Or if you go back to bed and do this 3 times, then you get to go to the park this weekend. We're
Mhm.
not actually figuring out why the kid's getting out of bed.
Right.
And maybe like they're just restless. Maybe they're going to bed too early. Like there's so
Mhm.
many reasons that make sense for us as humans to consider.
I liked his example of maybe that bedtime is the only time the only quiet time the child gets to talk to mom and dad,
Yeah.
and they don't wanna cut it short. Like, I
Hmm.
because that's not something I would have thought about.
Yeah.
But do you remember in his, workshop that he did, that he was
Mm.
talking about his daughter?
Yeah.
Did you watch that one? He was talking about his daughter, and they were fighting with his daughter on her morning routine.
Yep.
And she's like, and he's trying to Alfie cone himself, right? Because he's like, being a parent is hard. Being a parent's one thing, being, a behavioral scientist is another, talking about it. So he's like, I'm trying to solve this issue in a way where I'm not going to reward or punish her, but she
Hmm.
needs to get out the door at a certain time. So he talks to his daughter, and his daughter, and he's like, how can we solve this problem? And the daughter says, well, maybe I can start going to sleep in my clothes. And
Hmm.
he's like, well, okay. And the problem was solved.
Yeah,
Like,
I remember
and
watching that.
and I was like, damn, Alfie. That's good. That's solid parenting advice. Like, we learned so much from talking about the kids. And
Exactly. And talking to them
yeah, or talking
and
about
asking
did
them.
I say talking about the
I
kids?
think so.
Oh, Dan, no, don't talk about the kids. No. I mean, unless it's good stuff. But oh yeah, talking to him.
Yeah, and like even for me right now, like the current place I'm troubleshooting with my class is dismissal. And the thing about me, like my classes overall go very seamlessly. Like they run very smoothly, very little to no behavior issues. Almost ever, I would say, honestly. Knock on knock on wood. But like it's very smooth. And that's because that's where the area like I prioritize like my expectations and everything. And
Mhm.
then during like the homeroom at the end of the day, it's just like a hot mess express because there's basketball team coming in, newspaper team coming in, 5 kids leave for pickup, 5 kids leave for bus room, 3 kids come from 4th grade because they're on the school bus with my kids for some reason. Like it's just a hot mess express.
Wow.
And nothing really makes sense. And so at the beginning of the school year, I was like, I know my capacity. And technically, like I could do things, but I know the mental energy it takes to invest in like setting clear expectations, and then being consistent with boundaries. And running A is for Ashlyn after school. Like, I don't know about you, Brittany, but like it's that same area of our brain that we need for classroom management
Mm-hmm.
that's on after school. And so I have to save part of that to do AS Fashion after school.
Yep.
But now things are smooth, and I'm like, all right, let's make dismissal be wonderful. And so we've been working on it because I tell the kids, like, my expectation is that we can hear the announcements, that the room is clean, and you guys have a good nice end of the day. Like, I would just like to have those things happen. So what would you like to do in order to have that happen? Because they come in like hyped up because they're all in the hallway. It's chaos in middle school hallways. So they all come in hyped up. And I'm like, how do we get the room clean when there are things on the ground? Because it's very easy when you're in a big group to be like, oh, somebody else will get it. But no, that somebody else is like me or 3 kids who always like stay back, tell me clean things. So it has to be more of us. So we've just been troubleshooting together. Like, we have conversations and we're like, okay, so this worked well last time. What can we do to make this part better? And they give me suggestions, and then we try them and we reflect on how it's working. And overall, it's gotten much smoother. The room's gotten a lot cleaner. Kids are taking more initiatives, like staple. Like, if you've seen any of my videos, like I have a bunch of videos of me stapling things on my bulletin board. That is not like just for a video. Stuff falls off my bulletin boards because they're actually designed to be soundboards, so they repel tacks and staples. And people have come from me. Like, if you go to one of my old videos, there's like a comment with like hundreds of likes. Like, why are you stapling that bulletin board border so wrong? It's because it keeps falling off of the wall. So anyways, like, a kid goes around now with like a stapler and they re-staple the things to the wall that fall down during the day. And like, it's getting smoother, but it's coming through that conversation and me troubleshooting. And being like, okay, like, we're coming in like super hyped up because you have your basketball game today. But if you're super hyped and you're chanting, go team, we can't hear the announcements that your team can go be a team. So how do we do that? And they're like, yeah, you're right. Okay. So what if we we have like a timer now? We've been planning things out, but it's going well. And like, we're just reflecting and we're growing and we're fine tuning it together.
I really like that you created your priorities. Like, you have those 3 expectations.
Yeah.
And they're not like over the top.
No, and
Like,
I tell
they're
them that
super
too. Like,
basic.
I don't want you guys to be silent either. Like, I don't want to be like zombies at the end of the day. Like, I want you to be able to chill and hang out with your friends. But our announcements, so just for like context too, my announcements are this quiet in the afternoon. Like, we have to be like listening to the intercom with our ears up.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's annoying, but we're troubleshooting it together. And I think that togetherness also helps.
Yeah, I agree. Yep.
So now the last topic for us to tackle before we move on to action tips is going to be about risk taking. Because that was the last thing that Alfie said rewards harmed, which is risk taking. And one of the quotes that you pulled from page 63 says, when we are working for a reward, we do exactly what is necessary to get it and no more, aka limiting like risk taking and wanting to go above and beyond. And then the second quote is from page 64, and it says, reinforcement encourages the repetition of what has worked in the past, in part because the aim of the activity is not to produce something like a general principle or a rule, but to produce another reinforcer.
Wait, which question are we on? 8?
Yeah, so 8, and then I think 9's kind of going to merge. No, I'm sorry, we're on 9, and 10's going to kind of merge into it.
I don't even see 8. Or which quote are you reading?
I scrolled down and I read the quotes underneath. Discourage risk taking.
I'm not seeing that anymore or anywhere.
Oh.
Huh. That's weird. Oh, discourage 2D. Okay, discourage when we are working for a reward. Okay, sorry. That, like, I totally got thrown off because I'm like, I don't see 8. What is she reading?
It's all good.
Yeah. Okay, so reinforcement encourages the repetition. Yes. Like, can we talk about how it's like killing creativity and
Yeah, and just wanting to be done with something. Like so many people will say, like, "Oh
right.
yeah, like this, the kid doesn't try. Like they just want to be done. They just rush to get it done." But
Oh
if
my
you
god.
also think about the tasks that we give them,
Right.
like I know in my curriculum, it's a lot of workbook pages if I don't modify.
Mm,
So it's like, how motivated are you going to be to like fill out a workbook page to the highest quality? Like how motivated
yeah.
are we at like staff meetings to fill out like a Google form? you
I mean,
know,
how motivated are we at PD to do anything? Like, you
right.
try to pull teachers, like, to do a group activity, and, like, you're going to hear nothing but groans, like, "Oh, man." Oh, but anyway, sorry. So we I think that it speaks a lot to how relevant we're making our content to students'
Mhm.
lives, and also how we're kind of creating our own problems. Like,
Yeah.
you said at the beginning of this, like, this conversation we're having right now,
Yeah.
that oh, what did you say? You said, that we're like, "Oh, he doesn't wanna do anything," like, or he just wants to get it done. They just wanna get it
Mhm.
done. That's all they're focused on is getting it done. Well, we set them up to have that mindset
Yeah.
when we're like, "Okay, once you get it done, you get this."
Mhm.
Like, you get free time. Once you get it done, you get the star.
Exactly.
Like, so we're I like, the whole thing about this book for me has really been, like, it's highlighting how we're creating our own issues.
You need that Taylor Swift song. Hi, I'm the
Oh,
problem. It's me.
on the pro yeah. Yeah,
Could be our next T-shirt too. For all the
with, like
Swifties out there listening right now.
I know. We could.
Um, and I feel like this one's difficult too because they I have to figure out the way to word this one. So, yes, rewards do discourage risk taking, right? But then I also think there's something to be said about seeing something working and then continuing because it's working and not wanting to try new things because this is working for you, and like time management. So, for example, like with content creation for Brittany and I, right?
Mhm.
We have businesses, we make more money when our videos perform better because more
Mhm.
people see it, more people want to support us, and they keeps us going with our
Does,
burning the midnight oil because running this stuff takes a lot out of you.
does.
Um, so if we see a video script is doing really well, are we going to try to change it? Or are we going to keep using it?
I mean, so I think I'm more off the cuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't use templates as much,
Do you use
but that's
structures
because I
well?
get bored.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't I literally and this is the crazy thing, and this is probably why I can't predict my viewership as well as you can. I literally, like, probably make my videos 30 like, I think of my videos that I wanna create, and I'll create them 30 seconds later. And if they're
So,
ever scheduled, it's because I was like, "Oh my god, I need to make this." And so, like, I
yeah.
made it and then I scheduled it, you know?
I'm
It's
kind of the same way
exhausting.
too, though. Like, it is exhausting doing it like that.
Mhm.
I will write up my script on the treadmill while I close my exercise ring, and then
Yes.
I'll put it over some B-roll footage of me in the classroom. Like
Ah.
that's my system, and I do it like that. Like I have the one I wrote in the elliptical earlier that I'm going to post after we hang up. So mine isn't like fully fleshed out before. Like I kind of just think about the stuff that's happened and reflect on it and share my
Mhm.
ideas and strategies for the day. But I do know certain systems work better than others. So, for
Yeah.
example, if you go through my profile right now and you look at the videos that I start off with today, those
Mm.
videos perform better than videos that don't start off like that.
Which I took that from you and I did it, and you're right, it did. It did perform
S-
well.
So, it's the storytelling aspect. I think it's what it gets to,
Mhm.
like telling a story through the video. So if
Mhm.
I see that's working, would it make sense for me to switch to just giving tips?
Okay. So I've got 2 things.
Yeah.
One is any content creating advice you get from like YouTube or people who are super successful, they
Mhm.
always say like make a template. Make a
Yeah.
template. So systems are super important, right? Like this is
Yeah.
I'm gonna be like the devil and the angel on the shoulder. So this is
Let's
me
hear
yeah, saying I'm trying to get my finger in this video. Okay. So this is me like saying, okay, make the template. Like it's gonna save
it.
you
We need
time.
to just make these in general for the podcast.
Yeah. Like, so
When we're debating rewards, we
I
have our
know.
devils and angels. Okay, keep
Right,
going,
right.
keep
Okay,
going.
okay. So it's saying make the template. But then I have Alfie who's like, what is this doing to your creativity? Like,
Mm,
because
yeah.
my most creative videos are always spontaneous. Like, so, and I don't know, like, I think there
Maybe it's
is,
a merging. Because, like, even just like
mhm,
writing the video, that's creative, right? Being able to tell a story,
mhm,
there's
yeah.
creativity involved in that. So maybe it's
Oh,
kind of like a scaffold of sorts.
mhm,
So if you're not challenged to take risks when you're younger and start exploring like your own storytelling, then maybe you don't get to the point when you're an adult and you're like, "Ooh, I'm going to tell a story, or I'm going to give some facts." But maybe I want to tell stories right now because that's doing well, and I can convey that really well.
mhm,
Like maybe it gave me the option for choice because I was able to take risks.
yeah.
You know?
Well, and you're confident in your abilities, which is like, that's when you take risks as a child, right?
Yeah,
It builds confidence.
that's
So,
true. And it
it,
builds like just your regular skills.
mhm,
So now it's not just the act of like posting a video, right? As you know, there's so much more that goes into it as well, like figuring out what your audience likes, figuring
mhm,
out like the optimum time to post, being able to understand analytics. Like there's so
yeah,
much that goes into it that you have to be able to hold mentally,
mhm.
and that comes from trying things out. And if you're afraid to take risks and put yourself out there, then maybe you wouldn't even be making these videos in the first place.
Right, right. Or
Mm,
if you're so focused on like
yeah,
failing as being an ultimate, I don't know, and not an ultimate experience, but like
yeah,
failing, if you're so scared of failing and then like you start to see that your videos aren't performing well and then you take that as, you know what, I'm terrible at this.
yeah.
Like you will never experience like the success from learning from those failures because it's such a
Hmm.
roller coaster with content creating, like anything, right? Like
Yeah,
and you can't take the failures to heart, and just at the on the same note, you can't really take the successes to heart either
true.
because it's constantly,
It goes up and down.
yeah, it does.
Exactly. And honestly, one of the things I love talking to my students about is failure.
Mhm.
Like even at like the same pep talk I had on Friday, I was talking to the kids who were like struggling to stay on top of their due dates, and I was like, I'm not upset with you, but think about how you're positioning yourself. If you're not asking me for help to help you stay on top of your due dates, or like you're struggling to keep like using your agenda, like how are you positioning yourself? And then I was like, I know I also have kids in the room who are super stressed out about their projects, and like you're so focused on everything and you're so afraid of failing. It's okay. You're going to fail at some things. Like it's okay.
Mhm.
It's what you learn from it and what you do with it. So I've thought about having like at the end of the week on Friday, the kids kind of like rate me and tell me like things that they enjoyed that I did and things that they wish I didn't do during the week. And I also was like, maybe I can add a question there about like reflecting on your best failure of the week, like the best thing that
Mhm.
you learned from it.
Yeah.
Because the best things in life, honestly, like thinking about like the whole journey of making A's for Ashlyn, I would not be here without like the trials,
Oh yeah.
without the falling on my face.
Right. Well,
It's what gets you to
mhm.
learn and grow.
I mean, even if we think about like us doing this,
Yeah.
like where we were at the beginning of doing this. I
Mhm.
mean, we definitely still have some trials we need to work out, but like we've learned
The day
so
I legit couldn't even join the call for 10 minutes because my computer crashed. But that's
like
okay.
yeah, like it's totally okay. And that's when I guess when you really shift your mindset to see failure as a learning opportunity, you never stop growing.
And just to bring it back to rewards, if we are, as the adult, are administering the reward and putting so much importance in it or not getting it, then we're
Mm.
not encouraging failure at all. Or like being okay with it. Like the way we're talking about
Oh,
failure right now, we're like, oh, it's fine.
ooh,
But
you're
if we're
right.
like, you didn't earn this, it's not fine. That's not how we're presenting it.
Oh my gosh. You're right. You're
And then we
making
get so upset that the
yeah,
kids are so upset by it and they can't move on or they can't pick themselves back up
right.
when we're not showing it as something that you overcome. We're
Yeah.
showing it as the end all be all.
Yeah, you just lost your opportunity.
Yeah.
Hmm.
We should make a post about that.
We should actually. We're going to.
Yeah, we will definitely do that.
Mhm. In fact, I'm writing it down right now.
Me too. Typing it up right now.
Oh man. What's on our next
Next thing
topic?
is going to be about just action tips because now like we have reached like our hour mark for the episode.
Oh
I know
yeah,
we had
yeah.
the 15 minutes of ad-libbing at the beginning,
Right.
but like for the actual episode, it's been like our hour. So now it's our action tips for teachers or caregivers or administrators, just anybody listening to this. What
Hmm.
can they do with what we've learned?
Well, I was actually thinking about doing a post to like improve classroom culture. You have to get
Yeah.
rid of rewards because of how damaging it can be to relationships, not just between the teacher and the student, but between like the peer relationships.
Mm-hmm.
If you're viewing everybody as, a competitor or like you're in
Yeah.
competition,
Mm-hmm.
you're not that's not a way to uh, be induced, or that's not a way to encourage communal
Yeah.
or community or communal thought or group work. So because it's ruining relationships, because it's counterproductive to actual behavioral change, I think at this point, my advice is to get rid of rewards and start actually solving the issues.
Yeah, and then my action tip goes right off that. And I'm going to say what I said earlier. You don't solve anything unless you solve something.
Yeah,
The
uh-huh.
rewards are not going to meet the need. They're not going to solve the problem. Just like a punitive consequence or a punishment will also not meet the need or solve the problem. And it might be harder and more legwork up front, but you have to meet the need to solve the problem. You got to see what's going on and learn before you can truly make any impact or change. And that's my action tip.
I love that.
Me
Yeah.
too. This is a good chapter.
It was a really good chapter.
And the next one is going to be we have a bit of a break because of just scheduling things. But the next episode we're going to be recording is going to be on the 15th, and that'll be a recap. And we may be able to even have a special guest on that one too. So stay tuned. And now I think it's time for us to go into the comments. Did anybody comment? I can't see Instagram right now because
My Instagram has frozen.
let me see.
Well, hold on. Now I don't see any.
There as well. I don't know how many.
I don't see any comments, but it's not letting me scroll all the way to the top.
Okay.
So I don't know. And
Yeah.
that was something that I wanted to do, was to figure out like the chat or the
Mhm.
like, so you know how we can see them in Restream.
Yeah.
Can
But
you
we
see?
can't. I've not been able to see any of the comments in Restream.
See, we are supposed to be able to connect our
Well,
like the chat. I don't know.
that
We'll
can be
figure it
our
out.
our next issue to solve.
Right. I mean, we're getting better
We are.
every week. Every week. We can't see failure as like the end all be all, Ash.
And we don't.
We
We
don't.
have our cardboard sign to prove
We
it.
do. Yeah.
All
Okay.
right. Well, should we sign off then, Brittany?
Yes. What's our sign off? I feel like we haven't done this in a while. Why do I
I
feel like that?
don't know if we ever have created a sign off.
Oh, okay. Well,
Well, actually, no. We say the podcast. That's what we do for our sign off.
well,
Well, I hope this is our sign off. You ready for it, Britt?
okay. Yeah.
We hope that you enjoyed this podcast episode. We'll see you in the next one. And until then, we hope that you feel ignited, remoralized, and re energized. Take care of yourself.
Yeah. Bye, everybody.